So you guys know how Japan's the perfect country and it's just like anime in real life and everyone's happy there? You guys are aware of that, right? Like when you think of Japan, you think of paradise on earth, Shangri-La, and there's actually no issues. Well, it turns out some of the issues we've been discussing in Japan are real and they are bad. And in fact, Japan is not a paradise on earth, but in fact, going through a bit of a crisis on many fronts, a national crisis. Not only are the US tariffs a problem for their economy, but they're going through pretty bad inflation, which they haven't had for a long time, and political upheaval. So the main thing was Ashiba, the party, the LDP party that the current prime minister of Japan is in, has lost their majority in their equivalent of the House for the first time, I believe, ever. I mean, they finally have been unseated. And the Rising Party is like a make Japan great again, Japan first, anti-immigration, anti-tourist party that is rising in Japan, largely because they are now dealing with extreme economic problems. The average person in Japan is seeing their wages worth less and less, and the cost of things go up. Japan doesn't even have severe inflation, they have minor inflation, but it's bad. It's like, it's consistently, prices are rising faster than wages. The yen is getting weaker and weaker. And so it's making people angry and unsettled. Additionally, because some of you have noticed that all of your friends, if you're like a millennial or older Gen Z, are going to Japan, the tourism is way up because their currency is so weak. So if you fly to Japan, your currency, the dollar or whatever, or the euro, is going a lot farther. So everybody's going to Japan having a great trip. So regular Japanese people are getting priced out of like restaurants and everything, while all these tourists are flowing in. To be clear, tourists and tourism is good for the economy. It's not a bad thing. Unfortunately, the same way people blame immigrants when people are tough times, people also blame tourists when the problem is your central bank and your government. If you're a country that has to resort to tourism and there's a flood of tourism, it's not because of the tourists. It is because your country's been put in this spot. They're going to the classic playbooks. They're blaming immigrants and tourists and outsiders basically and saying, make Japan great again. The problem is, like, Japan is demographically in a time bomb. It is so old and getting older. You can't go back to an all Japanese island here and try to turn this economy around. It's really backwards for the problem they're facing. Like I mentioned, Ashiba's done a bad job. He's done a bad job on the tariffs. I got no support of Ashiba in general. He's super in the pocket of rice farmers. People are just clamoring for change. And what I'm trying to explain, and I explain this consistently, is that Japan is like the end game. They're where everybody's heading in terms of demographics and debt. They're the front line of the war. And they have, again, the world's worst demographics, the people that are super old, really elderly population, and they have the world's worst debt to GDP. They're literally the world's worst of any country. And so they're in a spot where they don't have a lot of wiggle room. They have to keep printing money to buy their own government debt to pay the interest and all the debt they already borrowed. So they're in an infinite cycle on that, which is causing the money supply to inflate, which is causing inflation, which is causing people's wages to go less far. And then the wages can't keep up. I don't know what their out is. I don't know what the solution is, but I do know that this was inevitable. We've talked about this for a while, but like this fracturing is, even Japan, which is a country that is normally not very tumultuous politically. They don't have a lot of upheaval. They're very solid and staid. And the LDP has been in a majority forever. For decades and decades. Even they are going to have radical change. People are going to get angry because that's what economies like this do. Once you get to this point in the cycle, the debt cycle, shit breaks. People start looking for more and more radical solutions. They need older people in their Senate. You think Japan's solution is to find people that are even older. Well, nobody wants to, if their country's already so old, they don't want to be ruled by people that are younger than them, obviously. You need elder statesmen. Good news on that front though, since we're talking about demographics, I do want to bring up something that is actually relevant. If you're not a boomer, I have some good news for you. The oldest baby boomers in the United States are now 79 years old. Do you know what the median age of death is in the United States? It's not good for a developed country. It's 78, which means we are now in the middle of what will be like a 20 year tsunami of boomer deaths. We are going to see a boomer wipeout over the next decade and a half. Their influence over their complete dominance, their iron grip over American politics is finally at an end. Every day there are fewer boomers, significantly. It is happening. Now, will millennials and maybe this bump of Gen Z, it's not shown here, do the same thing? Maybe. Maybe we'll do the same problems. At the very least, we can get newer politicians who can adapt to the ways the world has changed so much since these guys got their brains frozen at 30. That was 1976, bro. Gen X gets nothing, I think. Millennials will hoard all the Pokemon cards like boomers hoarded all the houses Sag. That doesn't sound that bad. I feel like if you don't have housing, you get radicalized. If you don't have Pokemon cards, you're fine. Why does Gen X get nothing? I'm joking that they get nothing, but I just mean that because there's such a boom of millennials. Millennial is the most common voter right now. It's more likely to be more millennial politicians than there is Gen X ones. Gen Z's got, it doesn't show Gen Z on here, but they're pretty, there's a good amount of them too. But I do think that Gen Z plus millennials could actually make a difference. Even if they voted in their own interest, that would be incredible because that would just pull some of the wealth that's all concentrated with the boomers out to society. That would just be good. And because millennials are less likely to have a fucking home, they might vote for things that build more homes. Gen Z's the smallest by population. Gen Z's about the same as Gen X. Yeah, it's really a millennial era, huh? Harry Potter till we fucking die. Damn, I can't believe they're going to be rebooting Harry Potter again in 20 years. In 10 years. Gen Z's so obsessed with the stock market, we're never going to end luxury inflation. Is that explain why, because, stocks are doing quite well right now. I mean, people are all in, bro. Robinhood and zero commission trading changed the game. Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. Speaking of Gen Z being financially savvy, percentage of buy now, pay later users who've paid late on their loan. Gen Z has broken 50% in the past year. That's fucking bad. 55% of Gen Z who use BNPL, baby boomers, their Klarna game's incredible. Their Klarna game's incredible. They don't pay late, probably because they have all the fucking money. They don't even need to be using it. Millennials not far behind though, nearly 50%. Dude, this is so bad. I can't stress enough. This BNPL is an epidemic, bro. People are paying late consistently. Healthy economy, that's what they tell me. That's what they fucking tell me. Banks are coming after BNPL. I know, because they're recognizing it's a fucking scam. I mean, it's like it's a credit risk. They're just not going to get the money back. People aren't able to pay. But I don't think they're too big to fail. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. But I think BNPL is just a bad business. Like, are we really going to bail out a Swedish company named Klarna? I don't think so. They're just not getting paid back for all the debt they're leaving out. Actually, retail's not as bad. This is retail activity as a percent of overall market shares traded. So before the pandemic, retail was about 9-10% of the market. In 2021, the height of the NFT bubble and the GameStop craze and everything, it hit 26%. Which is shockingly high. Then it was down for a bit, but now we're kind of back. We're definitely in like 2021 vibes era. People are definitely gambling. They're definitely on. What does this mean? This is basically the amount regular people are trading. This is a good proxy for, are your friends trading stocks on Robinhood? The higher this number is, the more likely that is. I thought retail meant like Old Navy. No, retail means like non-professional traders. Is it good or bad? In my sense, it's bad. If you're a retail person, if you're not like part of the market, you should just buy and hold an index fund. You shouldn't be trading day to day. You're going to lose. Retail traders almost always are wrong. It's just dumb money. Yeah, it's dumb money. So the higher this goes, it's bubbly, is all I'll say. It's bubbly. Not for you, except for my chat though. They're all savvy. They got it figured out. Did you see the poly market on the Democratic presidential nominee? A little early for this, but let's take a gander. Let's take a squeak at this. Right now, the leader by 4% is Praise Biden. We all just prayed one more shot for Joe Biden. I just feel like it's so f***ed up that he doesn't get one more shot. Come on, bro. He's young. He's scrappy. Gavin Newsom, my close personal friend, a man who calls on me when he needs advice, is at 21%. AOC right behind at 17%. Buttigieg, aka Booty Judge, at 13%. And Josh Shapiro, 6.6%. This is going to change so dramatically by 2028. So this is kind of too early to call. In fact, if there was like, you could bet the field, I would probably take it. I would make a long shot bet it's nobody on this list. Stephen A. Smith? Stephen A. Smith would be horrendous president. I gotta say it early, I gotta say it often. Stephen A. Smith would be a horrendous president. Would be a truly terrible president. And also, LeBron would end up in a concentration camp or something. So he's funny like Trump, so good enough. That's America's #1 bar. So I don't really care about your politics. You just better be funny up there. I'd have a beer with him. Would you? I think a beer with Stephen A. Smith wouldn't even be that fun. Chris Pratt, let's go. Make America great again. I think Chris Pratt should run for president of Italy, prime minister of Italy, because he's a true Italian. I think he should run with the Mario accent. And then once he wins that, he can reestablish American-Italian relations. Yeah, then Japan. He should go to Italy, win there, then go to Japan, win there. We should just send Chris Pratt on a tour around the world, winning in different elections and reuniting with America. Our alliances. Call me Big A the way I'm single-handedly stopping the Epstein files from being released. What Why would you call yourself Big A for that? Are you implying that I am single-handedly stopping the Epstein files from being released? As in everybody, the Democrats, the Republicans, Trump, MAGA, they all actually want it released and I'm the one stopping it?